Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Wade Watches. I'm Wade, and today I'm reviewing Ghostbusters Afterlife from 2021, directed by Jason Reitman and starring Carrie Coon, Finn Wolfhard, McKenna Grace, and Paul Rudd. So, going into this newest installment of the Ghostbusters movie franchise, I was kind of like cynical a little bit, just because, having watched all of the Ghostbusters films, leading up to the release of Frozen Empire, Ghostbusters 2, while I still enjoy it, was slightly more disappointing than I remember it being as a kid. Ghostbusters 2016 just wasn't it. Barely managed to scrape by with me. So in my head, I had convinced myself that a proper Ghostbusters sequel couldn't be done. But then I remembered all of the buzz surrounding Ghostbusters Afterlife. At the time that it came out in theaters, I was actually studying abroad in a different country, so I didn't actually get the chance to go out and see it at the movies. But I remember all the talk surrounding it. I know that Jason Reitman was helming it, and of course his father Ivan Reitman, who did Ghostbusters 1 and 2. Um, he said he wanted to kind of honor his father's work, definitely capture the feel more of those first two films, while definitely trying to at least attempt to do something different. I remember all of the talk, kind of like, depending on what side of the fence you're on when it comes to like nostalgia and reboots and modern franchises. I remember hearing some people say negative things about that, like it's relying too heavily on nostalgia bait, and other people saying I like that. So that's kind of the what I remember hearing about Ghostbusters Afterlife, and I haven't just finished watching it. This is a proper Ghostbusters sequel. Thank God they finally got it right. And let's get something out of the way. Does this movie have nostalgia bait all up in it? Hell yes, absolutely. Doesn't even try to hide it. It's so thorough to the point that they even like try and emulate the original sound effects and soundtrack of those first two Ghostbusters movies from the 80s. So it's all there. All of the elements from those first two movies, particularly Ghostbusters 1 that you remember, it definitely attempts to, bait people with nostalgia. And if nostalgia is the bait, I'm the fish who bit the hook. I fully admit it. I fully confess that it got me. It worked for Star Wars: The Force Awakens. It worked for Spider-Man: No Way Home, and for me, it also works for Ghostbusters 2. I admit it. Yes, it's there. Yes, it's kind of manipulative if you want to look at it that way, but in this movie, in Ghostbusters Afterlife, it absolutely positively works. And that's not the only thing that it has going for it. All those nostalgic elements and plot points and all that good stuff that you remember from the OG Ghostbusters movies. There is an attempt to revive the franchise in a different way, bring some fresh meat, new blood into it, and they succeed in that. Well, partially. So let's get into our new characters here. So with the main central character, who's she's a 12-year-old girl named Phoebe, played by McKenna Grace. I loved her. I'm not going to give away anything, just in case there are people out there like me who are watching this for the first time, haven't seen it yet, and want to watch it before Frozen Empire comes out at the end of the week. I'm not going to say what what the big reveal of the movie is, kind of like the big surprise of why the things in this movie are happening and who these characters are in relation to the original film. I won't say anything, but let's just say she really emulated something that I really like from the original two movies. She really does pull it off as a actor, really solid. And I also liked her friend that she makes podcast. He's really good. He's really cool. He was pretty funny and silly in parts. I liked Paul Rudd. Paul Rudd. He's kind of like this, kind of like a little bit of a Ghostbusters fanboy, and that's not a spoiler. We've seen in the trailers that this movie does, tie in, follow up is a follow up on those first two Ghostbusters movies. That they made sure they put all of that in the trailers. But anyway, I like his fanboyisms. I like how he's kind of geeky for science, and I like the chemistry he has with the kids in this movie. I really do. Flatter characters for me, for sure, was Finn Wolfhard, who definitely was wasted. I'm not a Stranger Things guy. I tried to get into it, I just couldn't get into it. But I liked him in the two It movies that came out recently. I thought he was definitely the standout in those two movies. And here he's doing the opposite. He's just kind of playing the awkward teenager trying to fit in and trying to win the heart of a girl. But he doesn't really do much or stand out at all until the end of the movie. Same with Carrie Coon, the mother. She's fine because she's given that one note character direction to be, the struggling single mom who's out of money but has to raise her children. So she's evicted from her apartment and she has to move into a house that her dad left her and all that stuff. It's a struggle to readjust. I'm really trying to raise these kids. That's pretty much the extent of her character, again, until much later on in the movie. And also, I will admit that the movie starts out just a well. No, here's the thing. The movie starts off strong. Like the opening pre-title sequence was like it could have been like a short film. It was amazing. I was like, holy fucking shit, this is cool. This is what I want to see from a Ghostbuster sequel. And after that, that's when you get, the build up and the character introductions. Like, here's our family. Here's the struggling mom. Here are the two kids who don't want to move but have to move. All that stuff, and it takes a while to get going, but once it gets going, I was happy. I was satisfied. I completely forgot about the slightly slow startup and build up to, the events and the action and the reveals and the discoveries, because it was actually pretty good. It was actually pretty engaging. Firstly, I like how this Ghostbusters film does not take place in New York City. I like the idea of them moving these events to a much smaller, kind of like a ghost town out in the middle of nowhere. I like how there is a mystery element here, and they actually spend a lot of time trying to solve the mystery and figure out what's going on here. And yes, like I said, I like the incorporation of those nostalgic elements. I liked, though obviously I wasn't even a thought in 1984 or 1989, but I did grow up watching the original two movies. I liked seeing that brought to modern times, brought to the 21st century. I really did. I know it's bait. I know it's manipulation. Whatever you want to say, I like seeing that stuff again. Sue me. um, and yeah, it really overall Ghostbusters Afterlife was a pleasant surprise. It worked better than I thought it would, and it is by far the best Ghostbusters sequel slash soft reboot that we've gotten to date. This movie was pretty solid. I won't say from start to finish because again, there is kind of that slow beginning, but once things get going, man, I was hooked. And the longer it went on, the cooler the characters got. I did mention how some of them kind of fell flat when we were first introduced to them, and before the plot kicks in pretty much. But the more it got going, the more I became attached to them, and the more I actually became endeared to a couple of them. There's also a couple of emotional scenes in this movie that kind of tugged at my heartstrings. Didn't get a tear out of me. It wasn't that like tear jerking or heartbreaking or that touching, but it was actually it just got me here in the feels. That's what I'm trying to say. It just kind of like made my heart swell up a little bit. It was very endearing to see. So Wrapping it up, I'm going to go ahead and give Ghostbusters Afterlife an 8 out of 10. This is the best follow up to those original two movies from the 80s that we've gotten to date. And here's hoping that they can recapture what they did with this reboot with, Ghostbusters Afterlife, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, which I'm seeing at the end of the week. Because Ghostbusters Afterlife worked for me. I know that those, these new characters will be returning with the OG characters in that movie, and I just hope that they can pull it off again. 8 out of 10 for Ghostbusters Afterlife. I enjoyed reviewing all of the Ghostbusters movies leading up to the new movie this week. This has been another edition of Wade Watches, and I'll see you all next time. Peace.